travel insurance for my trip. I mean, it's so expensive.
Isn't it just another money grab? Just another money grab? Just another... Let's discuss. Hi, it's Melissa here at Ready to Go, where we discuss tips and resources to help you plan your very own travels and create unforgettable memories and experiences. Now, when booking flights, cruises, or car rentals, you've no doubt been offered some type of travel insurance during the checkout process. What is this? Is there really an added value to this? Is it just a money grab? How can this help me? These are all great questions, and you've come to the right place. In this video, we'll review the 3 main types of travel insurance and the questions we can ask to determine whether we really need this coverage and how it can protect us from various risks. Make sure to stick around to the end as I've prepared a little extra free tool that I will share with you. If you're finding value in this video, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps us to build this channel together. And if you have any questions that I haven't covered in this video, please write those up in the comments below and I'll do my best to get you the answers you need. So when we talk about travel insurance, we're really talking about 3 broad categories, being medical coverage, trip cancellation or trip interruption, and car rental insurance. Now, the main reason to purchase any type of insurance similar to regular health insurance or home insurance is really to minimize our financial risk and to get peace of mind. So in the end, the one question we need to ask ourselves is, well, if such and such a situation occurs, can I afford to pay for these unplanned costs out of pocket? And if so, am I okay with losing out on that much money? So if we start with the first category, medical insurance, the answer to this question can vary greatly depending on the country you're traveling to. If you're traveling within your own country, this may not be a major consideration. However, for example, if you're traveling from another country into the US, well, we're all aware of the exorbitant costs of healthcare services in America, so it may be prudent in that case to get some type of medical coverage. So the question we really want to ask ourselves is, where are we going and how would we be covered in case of injury or illness? And the answer to that question can be very different from one country to another. So that would be my starting off point to try and determine whether we want to get healthcare coverage for our trip. Now, in Canada, the US, and certain European countries, insurance policies offered to employees sometimes include travel coverage as well. So this may be the first place you want to look if your employer offers this type of benefit. So what you want to validate in that case is, does it cover you worldwide? Are there any exceptions in terms of countries? And what is the limit amount of coverage? So whether you already have travel health insurance or you're shopping for coverage, the questions to ask would be, first and foremost, is the country or countries I'm traveling to covered? What is covered? What is excluded? Are there deductibles to pay? What is the limit amount of coverage? And there are likely different limits depending on the type of incident. Does it cover dental accidents? A bit less of a fun topic, but what happens in case of death? Does it include emergency evacuation? And does it include repatriation to your country? Now, prices and coverage can vary wildly, so I strongly recommend to shop around. Don't just take the first thing that's offered to you by the airline or cruise company. The second category is trip cancellation or trip interruption. The circumstances in which you would require this type of coverage are, for instance, you unfortunately become ill or injured and you just can't make it on your trip. And now you're all of a sudden out thousands of dollars because you've booked a non-refundable flight, perhaps excursions and accommodations. Another example would be that you've booked a cruise and a flight to get to that cruise, and all of a sudden the cruise line has decided to cancel that cruise. Now, of course, they will refund you and perhaps allow you to book at a later date. But what about your flight? If your flight was booked independently, the cruise line will not compensate you for that. And that's where trip cancellation insurance would step in to cover you for that non-refundable flight that you booked. Another situation that could happen is, what if your flight is canceled and the next available flight is only the following day, and you already have a hotel that's paid for at your destination? So now you'd be losing out on the one night of accommodation that you've already paid for, or that's non-refundable. And if you're not in your home city, you may have to book another hotel in the current city you're in. What's important to know in this situation is that airlines are only responsible to rebook you on the next available flight. Full stop. That's it. They have no obligation to compensate you or to give you money for accommodations or meals or anything of the sort. Now, if this situation happens, some airlines will compensate you in some way. So I strongly urge you to ask if you're in that situation, but they don't have to. So this is one situation where trip cancellation insurance would also come in to cover you for that loss. So these are just a few examples out of dozens of situations that may arise. So the questions we want to validate in terms of trip cancellation or trip interruption are the following. What are the covered reasons? What is excluded? What is covered in terms of trip delay? If you're going to a country at risk in terms of political instability or risk of terrorism, are political evacuations covered in that policy? And what about baggage loss? This may or may not be included, and sometimes it's an add-on option that you can take with that insurance. Finally, trip cancellation or interruption insurance can be purchased per trip, or with some companies, you may have the option to purchase an annual plan if you're planning on traveling more often that year. Some credit card companies also offer this type of insurance, so that's the first place you may want to check, as you may already have it. Now, the third category is car rental insurance. In this case, when you're renting a car, generally your options are either to opt into the coverage that's offered by the car rental company, or many people have credit cards that already have this coverage included for car rentals. So if your credit card does include car rental insurance, these are the questions I would validate with them. First and foremost, am I covered in the country or countries I will be driving in? Secondly, what is the maximum value of the car that's covered? And what is the deductible to pay in case of damages? I strongly recommend validating these 3 points with your credit card company before every single car rental, as these terms can change at any time. As an example, my husband and I have been renting cars with the same credit card for the past 5 years. And this year, before our trip to Italy, we discovered that they no longer cover car rentals in Italy and France. And it just changed a few months ago. So I strongly recommend really checking with the credit card company before every trip if you're going to rent a car. So we've looked at medical, trip cancellation or trip interruption, and car rental insurance. Now, whatever type of coverage you're looking into, one key question you need to ask in all cases is whether it's reimbursement only. Reimbursement only means that in case of an incident, you'll have to cover the costs up front and wait for reimbursement at a later date. So if you're opting into a reimbursement only policy, you need to make sure you have that extra credit or funds available to cover those costs up front. Now, for that free bonus I've mentioned, I've prepared a PDF checklist for you with all the questions and items that we want to validate whenever you're shopping for travel insurance. You can click and download it for free at the bottom of this video. Now, I really hope you found this episode helpful. To make sure you never miss out on any new content, please click that subscribe button and the notifications bell to make sure that you're always ready to go.